They called him the master of those who know. Aristotle. A name etched deep into the foundation of Western thought. A student of Plato, a teacher of Alexander the Great, and a mind so vast that it stretched across logic, ethics, politics, biology, metaphysics, and more. But Aristotle wasn't just a collector of ideas. He was a builder of systems, a seeker of causes, a man who didn't want to merely believe in something, he wanted to understand why it was true. In a time when myths ruled the minds of men, Aristotle dared to reason. He walked into the unknown not with superstition, but with observation and method. He believed the universe was not chaos, it was order waiting to be discovered. And through that order, life could be lived with purpose. Aristotle's philosophy wasn't locked in the clouds. It was grounded, practical, human. While Plato searched for perfect ideals in another realm, Aristotle said, "Let's begin with what we see, touch, and experience." He believed knowledge begins with the senses. From sight and sound comes memory. From memory comes experience. And from experience comes wisdom. This speech is not a history lesson. It is an exploration into a mind that shaped the way we think, live, and learn, even now. And through his lens, we'll see how logic gives us clarity, how ethics shapes our character, how politics structures our society, and how purpose can be found not in chasing the divine, but in fulfilling our human nature. Let us walk with Aristotle, not as a cold academic, but as a companion in the search for a meaningful life. In Aristotle's world, everything had a purpose. Everything moved toward something. A tree grows toward the sun. A seed becomes a flower. A child becomes an adult. Nothing is still. Everything unfolds. He called it teleology, the idea that all things have an end, a purpose, a telos. And what about us, the human being? What is our telos? Aristotle believed it was eudaimonia, often translated as happiness, but not the fleeting kind. Not the sugary high of pleasure. Eudaimonia is fulfillment. Human flourishing. Living in accordance with reason and virtue. It is a life well lived, a soul in harmony with its nature. But how do we reach that state? How do we live well? Aristotle didn't tell us to chase extreme emotions or reject them. He spoke of the golden mean, the balance between excess and deficiency. Courage is the mean between cowardice and recklessness. Generosity lies between stinginess and wastefulness. Virtue, he said, is not a fixed rule, it's a practiced habit. A way of being that we must train in, day by day. This wasn't philosophy for philosophers. This was philosophy for everyone. Let's turn to logic, something Aristotle gave structure to like no one before him. He didn't invent logic, but he formalized it. He gave it bones. He created syllogisms. Ways of thinking where if the premises are true, the conclusion must be true. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is mortal. Simple, yet profound. With this, he laid the groundwork for rational thinking, for science, for argument, for decision-making. In a world increasingly ruled by noise and emotion, Aristotle gave us a lantern of clarity. He believed we must begin with what is most knowable to us, and move step by step toward what is most knowable in itself. Truth, for him, was not instant. It was a journey. But with the right method, and the right mind, it could be reached. Even now, in courts, in debates, in scientific reasoning, we walk on the logical paths Aristotle paved over 2,000 years ago. And then there's Aristotle the biologist. The man who dissected animals to understand life. Who categorized species and observed behaviors. Who understood that knowledge of nature is not separate from philosophy, it is philosophy. He believed form and matter were inseparable. A statue isn't just bronze. It's bronze given shape by a sculptor. Likewise, a human isn't just flesh, we are form infused with soul, potential shaped into actuality. He spoke of four causes. The material cause, what something is made of. The formal cause, its shape or essence. The efficient cause, the maker or force that brings it about. And the final cause, its purpose, its telos. To Aristotle, nothing truly exists until it fulfills its purpose. A knife is not a knife until it cuts. A human is not fully human until they reason, until they live virtuously, until they pursue eudaimonia. This wasn't just science. This was metaphysical poetry. And it showed that everything, yes, everything, has deeper meaning if we only look closely. Now, what about ethics? How do we become good? Aristotle didn't give us commandments. He gave us a framework. He observed that good people are not born, they are made. Through habit. Through training. Just as a musician becomes great by practice, so does the moral person. He wrote a practical wisdom, phronesis. The ability to make the right decision in the right situation, with the right intention. It's not about rigid rules. It's about judgment, character, and understanding the complexities of real life. For Aristotle, ethics was not abstract. It was embedded in community, in friendship, in civic life. To be good, we must engage with others. We must find our role in the polis, the city, the society. And here we find one of his greatest insights: man is by nature a political animal. Not political in the partisan sense, but in the sense that we are meant to live in community. To build, to discuss, to share, to govern, and to strive together. He believed the purpose of the state is to promote virtue. Not just security or prosperity, but the moral development of its citizens. That's a lesson modern politics often forgets. So how does all of this help us today? In a world drowning in information but starving for wisdom, Aristotle reminds us that reason is our compass. That truth is real and reachable. That fulfillment doesn't come from chasing endless desires, but from actualizing our inner potential. He teaches us to ask better questions. To observe carefully. To aim at balance. To pursue excellence, not perfection. To cultivate habits of character that guide us, especially when life becomes chaotic. He shows us that philosophy is not just about thinking, it's about living. It's about finding meaning in the mess. Purpose in the pain. Structure in the storm. When you feel lost in emotion, Aristotle gives you logic. When you feel overwhelmed by choice, he gives you the golden mean. When you feel life is aimless, he reminds you of telos. When you wonder what you're here for, he invites you to flourish. And perhaps the most human thing about Aristotle is that he believed we could improve. That knowledge is not reserved for a few. That virtue is not impossible. That reason, used wisely, can shape the soul, the society, and the future. He didn't ask us to leave the world. He asked us to understand it. To live in it with intention. To observe the real, not the imagined. To begin where we are, and rise from there. He was not a mystic. He was not a dreamer. He was a realist with vision. A thinker who saw in every detail of life the potential for greatness. So what now? Read a little more closely. Think a little more clearly. Judge a little more wisely. Act a little more intentionally. Because in doing so, you walk with Aristotle. You live philosophy, not just study it. And maybe, just maybe, you'll find what he found. That the good life is not out there waiting to be found. It is built, day by day, through thought, through action, through reason. And that makes you not just a follower of Aristotle, but a philosopher, too.